Hi, my name's Ernie Warrender, and I'm the leader of the newly formed Alliance for Democracy and Freedom Party, adfparty.uk. Newly formed because our democracy is being taken from us day by day, and I want it back, and we need your help to get it back. Churchill once said that democracy isn't perfect, it just happens to be a little bit better form of government than all others. And our 1,000-year-old democracy is creaking under the strain of a very aggressive media, social media, demonstrations, public discontent, if you like. The Alliance Party was formed to do politics in a very different way. There is a huge gulf between your local elections, whether it's parish, council, district council, county council, town council, unitary authority council, I mean, the list goes on. But they are there to represent you, and at the moment they don't. They represent, in the final analysis, the Tory party or the Labour Party. They will do as they are told. We noticed a huge increase in independent councillors who are being elected for the right reasons, to represent you, their local people. And they get into office and then they become mired in all of the paperwork and the back office stuff that goes with it. The Alliance was formed to allow them to campaign under the name of Proud Of. So you will see Proud of Rotherham, Proud of Cornwall, Proud of Farming, and you will know, the clue will be in the name as to what they stand for. When you come to vote in your central Westminster elections, if we're allowed to have those as well, instead of just voting for Tory or Labour or possibly maybe Lib Dem, you will have the opportunity to vote for an Alliance Party candidate who will be local. They won't be parachuted in because they're one of my mates or they gave a load of money to the party. They will be a local person sent to Westminster to represent your needs, because the needs of people in, for example, say Cornwall, Rotherham, are vastly different to the needs of people in Surrey, London, Yorkshire. I mean, this just makes sense. Policies. If I just give you a brief snapshot of policies. Tax. This is a really big one at the moment because somebody's going to have to pay the bill. I am determined as a businessman that businesses that do business in the UK are going to pay their fair share of tax no matter where they think they can base themselves. Immigration. There's another hot topic, isn't it? No one wants to talk about that. Sponsored freedom of movement. It's wonderful. You can come to this country for up to 90 days. And if after 90 days you can't support yourself, you've got to go. It's self-regulating, it's very simple, and you shy away from this ridiculous, oh, we'll restrict it to thousands, tens of thousands, doesn't matter who they are, what skills they've got, it's just a number, meaningless. Health, education, essential services. I'm a child of the 60s. Every time I pay my electric bill to the French government, EDF, I turn into a socialist. I think that some light touch professional nationalisation would be a good thing. We got it wrong with the centralised socialist Stalinist nationalisation that destroyed our steel industry, our car industry, coal industry. But it is not a bad form of business in itself. Health, education, they should be free at point of need. Please, if you want your democracy back and you want centre sensible politics, because that's what this is all about, please go to adfparty.uk and have a read the manifesto, it's thrilling, or pick the bits out that interest you, but please help us. Thank you very much for listening to this.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another Open Dialogist production. We have Mike Hookum, who is the leader for the Alliance for Democracy and Freedom Party, which was formed in September 2019. I had to look at my notepad then, Mike, because for some reason I keep wanting to call it the German AfD parties. So welcome to the show, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm great, Dan. Thanks for inviting me. One thing, I'm not the leader, I'm the chairman.
Ah, so who's the leader?
The leader is, at the moment, is Ernie Warrender, who's the next
Ernie, I know
for Westminster and everything else, and a lot of experience in politics. Businessman down south, very successful businessman.
I know Ernie was a former NEC member of the UK Independence Party.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've met Ernie a couple of times. If it's the chap,
nice guy, Ernie. He's a good
yeah,
guy.
great, cool. So, why the Alliance for Democracy and Freedom Party? Why did you form it?
Well, we formed it. There's a long story in that, because we actually formed it. Well, we attempted to form it around about January, I think, last year, and it took a hell of a long time. Elcom, if you're listening, you are rubbish. It was unbelievable, the hopes that you have to go through, and it was just maybe a little line or awareness, and they'd throw it back at you. And it
Do you mean the Independent Electoral Commission? The Independent Electoral Commission?
Elcom, the Electoral Commission that every party has to go through, is not fit for purpose. It should be scrapped, thrown out. It was terrible, and it took us months and months. So we eventually got it through. Round about, as you say, I think it was October, September last year when we eventually got it in, and we did it really. Basically because we was on conversation with lots of people, saying, well, who do we support now? Who do we vote for? Who can we get involved with? We're all political animals. That's our background, and we couldn't come up with anybody. We couldn't support the Tories. We couldn't support Labour, Lib Dems, any of those people. We'd left UKIP, and one thing right from the beginning, I will never ever have a pop at UKIP, because my years in UKIP was absolutely fantastic. I met some fantastic people. They did a fantastic job, and it was UKIP that got us out of the European Union. UKIP that won the referendum. Absolutely brilliant. But in the latter years, it started going to a different way politically that I didn't want to go. So I left. I fulfilled my commitment with them, and I made a promise to them, and I fulfilled that promise. And I think I was only one of about 3 MEPs that actually fulfilled that promise. So who do we go with? We couldn't see anybody. So we thought, right, we'll do it ourselves then. Basically, the funding is all from ourselves. We trying our best to learn from mistakes that we've seen in previous parties. The way that we set it up, that the leader couldn't take control of it, or the NEC couldn't take control of it. It was a democratic party, a party for the members, and it was basically aiming at the people that we believe are not getting represented in the country at the present moment. And I think our policies and our direction will bear that out. But that's why we started it. And one of the things, I mean, the name itself is the Alliance, Democracy and Freedom. So the alliance is the most important part, because we're trying to bring in all of those people that are maybe independent or standing for independent council, or part of a smaller party or a group, and trying to bring them together. Because as you'll know, and many people out there will know, you get into these elections, and the independents do well, but if there's 2 or 3 independents standing for one ward, they'll suck up all of the votes, split them all up, and Labour walk back in again, or Conservative walk back in again. So we're trying to say to them, let's come under one umbrella, be part of a national party under one umbrella, but at local level, you are fighting for local issues. You've got to represent, well, I believe, politics actually starts at local level. That is the ground level of politics. Representing where you live. So that was the focus of it all. Getting direct democracy to those people that you represent, and you answer to them. They're the people that voted you in. They're your boss, not me, not the chairman of the party, but that person who's voted you in. You represent them, and that was it. That was a big key thing to us. That we wouldn't whip the councillors, because they're representing their area, and they should take their direction from the people who voted them in. So that's how we've driven it. That's how we've got it together, and we are speaking to many people around the country, many groups. many independents who are seeing what we're trying to do and are liking what we're trying to do.
I think it's you know, a brilliant thing, you know, from what I've read about your party. I mean, your website's very good, explains a lot. I've gone through some of the policies that you've got on there as well. But I think from my perspective, the reason that I invited yourself on, the reason I'm going to be talking to other party leaders and their chairmans, etc., is because for me, I couldn't vote for Labour if somebody put a gun to my head. The Labour Party now, they don't know who they are. You know, so how they're ever going to persuade you know, their hardcore, what would have been the hardcore Labour of you know, most of the North. I just don't see it. I don't see it. But my major concern for me is the Conservative Party. They're not conservative. They don't practice conservatism. That's the one thing that's become obvious to me over the sort of few years, you know, that I've got involved in politics myself. I mean, looking. I mean, Boris is pretty much it's green this and green that every other word. You know, the Conservatives have been in power now, albeit with David Cameron and Theresa May, you know, as prime ministers. Neither of them are Conservatives. Neither of them are Conservatives. Theresa May is probably the worst prime minister. I mean, Boris Johnson's given her a run for her money, but she was probably the worst prime minister, 108 times lying to the nation on camera to our faces. But anyway, that's the politics that I hope that you guys and other parties can you know, can help us change.
But isn't that incredible, Dan, that you're saying that Theresa May was the worst prime minister, but now Boris is taking that title? You know, and you're saying that from the worst prime minister when you got Tony Blair, who took us into illegal wars, and everybody said he's the worst prime minister ever. And then coming Gordon Brown, who wasn't even elected, and everybody said Gordon Brown's the worst prime minister ever. It seems
I
as
wouldn't
though
want him selling my gold.
I'm picking these people up. I'm thinking,
yeah,
what's happening? Where is the politics of all? Where is it going?
I think we've been a victim now of Hobson's choice for a long time. If you look at Parliament now, I mean, I know Andrew Bridgen, I know Mark Francois.
Yeah.
I don't know many other MPs, but they are MPs that I would consider to be true Conservatives.
Absolutely. Yes, I agree with that.
And there's
Andrew
not
Bridgen's
a
fantastic MP.
Yeah. But if you look at the cabinet, the ones that are basically imprisoning us in our own homes, whether you think, you know, regardless of whether it's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do, there isn't a Conservative amongst them. There's not one Conservative in that cabinet. I thought Pretty was a Conservative. She for me, I've always liked her, and I know she's got to play the party game, and I understand all that. But every time I see a tweet now, it's a threat of being arrested under some fine. That's how it feels. It just feels. It doesn't feel like a Conservative government for me. COVID aside, you know, we have 4 police in this country now, Mike. 4 police. You know, you put something wrong on Twitter, and someone's going to come knocking on your door. A Conservative government? I don't think so. So I'm interested, and I know that there's a vast majority of Conservative voters, Conservative vote, that are homeless. We get Hobson's choice. It's dumb or dumber. And I think we need, you know, is proportional representation the answer? Well, I think for parties like yours, it has to be, because you'll never get in, you know, to break the 2-party first past the post.
Yeah.
Next to impossible. But so what are your thoughts on the Conservative Party? If you can, let me know what you think.
I've never voted Conservative in my life, and I probably would never would. And what we're trying to do, we're trying to stay away from being left or right. What we're saying is we're just trying to put forward policies that are common sense. So what we're saying, we're calling it centre sensible, and it's the sensible policies, and it's the sort of policies that you hear in the pub when you was allowed to go in the pub, or in the supermarket.
Do you remember that, Mike?
Oh, yeah, there used to be one around the corner, but I think it's shut down. But, you know, subjects that you hear people talking about on policy and say, well, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? And those are the type of things that we're looking at and we're bringing forward. But as I say, I've never voted Conservative. I've never would vote Conservative. I'm not a Conservative. You know, I've never. You could probably call me maybe Conservative with a very small C. You know, but you know, I'm all about the working man, and you know, if you go to work, you should get an honest day's wage for an honest day's work. The government should keep the hand out your back pocket, and it should be light taxation. You want your kids to have a good education. You want a health service that actually delivers free at the point of need.
And not abused.
And not abused. You know, all of these things that is what I believe in, and what I believe we're not getting at the moment. And, you know, these are the things that I've always fought for and I'll carry on fighting for. So, you know, I think at the moment, Boris is not doing the job. I think he's terrible. I think he's just not answering the questions, and it seems to come together at the moment. We've got Boris who's totally incapable of doing his job. He's not fit for all. You've got an opposition party that is not an opposition party that doesn't oppose anything. You've got a press, mainstream media that doesn't ask any questions. They just go along, and you know. You watch it every night at 5 o'clock when Boris comes on, and what questions they're asking. They're not asking the questions that people are asking about this COVID thing. You know, people. So many. What's the figure that they put out today? Is it 100,000 people have died with COVID? That's with COVID. What did they have? Did they have cancer? Did they have a heart attack? Did they have a brain tumor? You know, these are people who died.
A red rag to a bull for saying that to me. A red rag to a bull.
It's people who died that's been tested positive to COVID within 28 days of the death.
Correct.
Well, check all of those numbers out and then tell me who's died of COVID. I'm asking, I'm not denying. Please, the people listen to that now. I am not a denier. This is a very, very nasty virus that's going out there that will kill you. If you've got serious problems, it will kill you. So I'm not denying it. But
Mike, are we in a position? Are we now in a position, which I believe we are, but are we now in a position where the cure is worse than the virus itself?
Yes, I think we are. I think what you've got to look at, and that's something I put out today, is you know, where is the why isn't there been any research into what this the lockdowns have provided? Have they provided an answer? You've got people there now that's on lockdown that daren't go to hospital, that are committing suicide. You know, all these people that's sitting at home now that's on furlough. Fantastic! I'm sat at home.
Yeah, absolutely.
8% of my wage.
Somebody's got to pay the bill.
Actually, they're probably redundant. That they don't know it yet, because when they actually go back to work, there's no firm, because the firm's either shut down or it's going to have to cut down massively to carry on trading. So there's all of these things, all of these answers that are not being answered. You know, and you know, I'll throw a personal one in there. My elder brother died just after Christmas. Parkinson's disease. Went to see him one day. He was sweating. Looked absolutely terrible. We thought, bloody hell, he's got COVID. Let's get him to hospital. Thankfully, his wife is a staff nurse, right? My other brother, is a paramedic. They both said, "Have you got chest pains?" No chest pains. Right. Gets him in the ambulance. "Have you got chest pains?" No chest pains. Gets him to hospital. "Have you got chest?" "Well, yes, I have had chest pains." He didn't want to go to hospital because he didn't want to catch COVID. His heart was damaged, 40% damage on his heart. He eventually died just after Christmas.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
For breath, with pneumonia. Now, the doctor wanted to put COVID on his death certificate. And if my other brother, the paramedic, and his wife, the staff nurse, hadn't been there, that's what they'd gone on. If it had been me or any Joe Soap, who didn't know what they was talking about, that's what would have gone on his death certificate. That's
we are hearing that a lot, though, aren't we?
The answers.
Yeah, sure.
So I've got a personal interest in this.
Back to your party.
Yes.
So you're a member of the European Parliament. You were elected in July 2014 up until obviously the elections of May 2019.
Yeah.
Am I right? What you were a fisheries spokesperson for some of that time. What's your
I think
what?
3
Well,
years on
what's
the
your
fish.
right? What's your thoughts on the fisheries trade policy now from this new Brexit deal?
It's a bad deal, but it was always going to be a bad deal. And if you look through what I've said in the past, probably for the last year, 2 years, I said exactly, and I'm not blowing me on trumpet, I said exactly how this would play out. It would be an 11th hour deal brought in. It would be a bad deal for the country, but it would be a terrible deal for the fisheries industry, because that was always going to be sold out by Boris and the Conservatives, and that is what they've done at the moment. They've sold us out. The fisheries, they've got 5.5 years. So basically, if you look at it, since the referendum, the European Union's had nearly over 10 years to plunder our waters. We have factory ships that are out there. They're out there now. There's because I watch this every day.
Is that the super trawlers?
Well, you can call them super trawlers, but the term of super trawlers over 100 meters. There are factory ships. There's one that I know that's 81 meters, but it's a state-of-the-art, multi-million-pound factory ship. There's a fleet up at Scotland at the moment fishing, taking it all out. They're all European on. There's a fleet just off the west coast of Ireland doing exactly the same. And they're not being stopped. And Boris said at Christmas hour, we're going to ban the super trawlers. And the very next day, he gave licenses for the same vessels to fish our waters. It's a bad deal for the UK fishing.
So am I right that our quota, the UK's quota, has increased? So what we can catch
over the 5 years, they're going to give us 25% of the monetary. So it's 25% of the monetary of the catch.
Right. Okay.
But that is on fish that we don't eat. It's not the cod and the haddock and the rest of it. It's hake and all different types of fish. It's our vessels, and over 90% of our vessels are 10-meter vessels. The fleet, the UK fleet, over 90% of it is 10-meter vessels, and they want to be out. They want to be out in the as far as they can get out there to fish. That's all they want to do, But they're being stopped. So they're the ones that are really being hit. It's not the big companies. It's these 10-meter vessels that are really being hit, that are not getting out there and taking back that quota. We should have got away from the CFP, got away from the quota system, and said we're going to do it ourselves. Because the deal that we've got now, every year we're going to have to go back to Brussels and negotiate how much fish we can take out of our waters. That's crazy to me. It's our fish.
Well, it's not independent. It doesn't sound particularly independent.
It's not a sovereign nation. It's not a sovereign coastal nation. So I said for a long while, no shadow CFP, no shadow quota. We should have done it ourselves and said, that's it, sort of. We're having our waters, but we will allow some of the European vessels to come in under license, and that license money would then, or should have been, paid straight back into the industry for training and for technology and all the rest. Pump it straight back into the fishing industry. What we've got now is a poor deal where he's saying he's going to give £100 million to the fishing. Well, that will go nowhere. £100 million is nothing. He's giving £23 million now for these people that can't export into Europe. And I've heard that is for the Scottish fleet. That's not even for the English fleet, as far as I'm aware. So the amounts of money he's talking about are a pittance. Our fishermen are desperate. They're desperate to get out there. They was going to the wall before, but in 5 years' time, there'll definitely be some of them that won't be there fishing anymore.
Okay. Well,
we can't even export now into it because they're coming up with, and again, what I said, and we saw this in the Parliament with Barnier and everything. Listen to him speaking that they was going to punish it once we'd left. So you can get a French boat now fishing in our waters. It can pick UK fish, take it straight back into France, and they're okay. An English boat taking the same fish out of English waters have got to have a health certificate. So it's madness. We had cars. Why didn't he come up with a better deal than that? It's absolutely ridiculous.
It does seem that the Conservative Party, which you and I both know, and as will our viewers, that the Conservative Party has always been the party of Europe. And they still are. They're reluctant leavers, shall we say?
I don't believe they ever wanted to come out.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Boris Johnson's withdrawal agreement was on a Theresa May's withdrawal agreement with sticking plaster on it. But there was the British MEPs, and all of the British MEPs, may I say, including one certain party, all signed and agreed to Boris Johnson's withdrawal agreement.
Wow.
Instead of turning it down and
Shocker.
saying, no, we don't want any of this. We, as when we was campaigning as UKIP, we said a bad deal. What was the term, Daniel? No deal is better than a bad deal. That was a term. No deal, and that's what we should have gone for. We should have said this is a bad deal. It's a bad withdrawal agreement. We're not accepting it. We're not agreeing to it. We're not going to support it. We need to leave, and if we have to leave on a WTO, once Europe found out, and I've dealt with these people, I know exactly how they feel. I've had arguments in the Parliament with lots of these people. Once they see a weakness, they will grab it and they will go for it.
And you can't blame them for it. You can't blame them for it.
The weakness was they knew full well that Boris Johnson would never, ever, backed by the Westminster elite, would never, ever allow this country to leave on WTO.
Yeah.
Once they knew that, they knew all they had to do was sit it out. And that's what they did. And Boris brought in this bad deal, the 11th hour, on a Christmas Eve, on a COVID-weary nation, and said, look at this, what I brought you back a deal. And he gave them 3 days, Westminster, to look at this deal, read it, dissect it, and vote on it.
Yeah,
that wasn't long.
They didn't have a lot. Yeah, exactly that. They did.
Apparently, what's going to happen now? It still hasn't gone before the European Parliament yet, because the MEPs have got to vote on it of the 27 nations. And I've been reading that they're going to throw it out, so they're not going to agree to it.
Well, one thing I will say is it was very ironic listening to the SNP MPs advocate for no deal. They wouldn't vote for it. I thought, am I understanding this correctly? If they don't,
but that's what you got down on the night. And I've watched all of the debates. I've sat through them all and watched them. When these people were standing up and saying, "I don't like this deal. It's a bad deal, but I'm going to vote in favour of it because I don't want a WTO."
Yeah,
that's not an opposition position.
Yeah.
That is saying, I'm only voting for it because I don't want WTO.
Yeah,
and the only ones that stood up was Sammy Wilson, DUP, who said, "Well, we've been sacrificing the Northern Ireland, so you're not getting our support. What you didn't ask is you didn't support under the bus." And Ian Duncan Smith stood up with him and said, "Well, you don't know that if you don't vote for this, you're voting for a WTO." And he said, "Yeah." And he was the only one. And everyone else in that parliament voted for something that they didn't want, but they didn't want a WTO.
And
the European Union knew that, and that was the weakness. That was the weakness, and they capitalised on that weakness because that's what they do.
Okay, Mike. Right, Mike. Now let's get on to the National Health Service.
All right.
What's your party's position on the National Health Service, and how would you and where would you make it better?
The National Health Service always has been a sacred cow. It's anybody that criticises the NHS, especially this time now, as soon as you say, "Well, we think that needs streamlining," "Oh, you're going to privatise it. You're going to privatise it." Well, no, we wouldn't privatise it. We need it to be free at the point of need. It's the National Health Service, not the International Health Service. The management needs thinning down. There's lots of managers. There's more managers and
lots of bureaucracy.
Yeah, more managers than actually doctors and nurses. The doctors and nurses do a fantastic job, and they're the ones that should receive the monetary results for that. And we need to thin it down. But as I say, it's a sacred cow, and you can't criticise it. And the people who shout you down every time are the same people that privatise it when they brought the PFIs in.
Yeah.
The private finance initiatives, and that was Labour who started that.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
It was grabbed by the Conservatives, and they ran away with it. They thought it was absolutely brilliant.
It wasn't Labour that started it. That's actually an error. It was John Major that started PFI deals with 3 hospitals: Leeds, Newcastle, and Sheffield. Yeah,
well,
Tony Blair just came in and put it on steroids. That is a fact.
Well, I'll apologise if that is a fact. But
That is
what I'm saying is, it was the Labour and the Tories, the ones that always say you're going to privatise it, are the ones that have privatised it. They really do. You know, our grandkids and grandkids' kids will still be paying for some of these deals that these people these people cocked up.
It's the biggest lie that's come out of Westminster when they say they support our National Health Service. That they don't support it. The fact that they have to give money into the National Health Service's coffers is by design. You know, we've been like that since, was it Clement Attlee, I think, started the National Health Service many years ago. So they don't support it at all. What they support is privatised businesses, because we can see it siphoning off. They're chopping salami slice, chopping it down and down and down and down. And the only thing at the moment that is a National Health Service is the fact that you can still walk through the door. But the amount of money, I mean, I saw a report in 2017, so I can't imagine it's got any better. But in 2017, that 47% of the budget for the National Health Service goes on bureaucracy. So yeah. I mean, it's so frustrating to know that our Hobson's choice at the ballot box. That, you know, the only difference is one of them is, one of their rosettes is red and the other is blue. Other than that, you can't put a cigarette paper between them when it comes to that. So, you know, we do need electoral change in this country. So what's your thoughts on proportional representation?
Well, we are looking into that now. We're looking at the different standards of it, and the one that New Zealand's got at the moment seems to be working. We need to get something that's the first past the post. You know, it's basically, it's not fit for purpose. You know, we end up with the same two-party state, ping pong. You know, they're in, they're out, they're in, they're out, and that's what we get all the time. So we've got to change, and we've got to look at something that's simple. If you make something that's complicated, and I mean, you'll know if you stand at in a council election and you stand there on the night and looking at some of the ballot papers that are coming through and where they put the cross, and some put on it as a note instead of a cross, and you know what I mean. So you've got to make it simple. So, you know, it hasn't got to be complicated. But so it needs looking at. It needs a different system.
Well, yeah, I mean,
people.
You say complicated. I would say the British electorate know exactly what they're doing. Now, let me just jog your memory. In 2014, we had a PR vote, and the UK Independence Party ended up sending, was it 28 or 26 or 27 members of the European Parliament to Brussels? The electorate know who they were voting for then. They didn't vote Tory. They did, well, I can't remember the actual figures, but basically
that was on the De Hont system, and that all you needed to do then was to put a cross next to the party name.
Yes.
What I'm saying is, if we get too complicated, where you've got a first choice, second choice, third choice, and all, people then start thinking, well, do I have to vote all of them? Can I just vote for? And you know, there's so many different things.
Sure. But then why don't we follow the EU elections? Because it's simple. Because every time we've had a PR vote in my lifetime, both Labour and Conservatives have lost.
Yeah.
Wow.
And if it's good enough for the European Union, and if it's good enough for Westminster, because Westminster, I think they vote their leaders in on the same thing, on a proportional representation. So if it's good enough for them, why isn't it good enough for the general public? But it has to change. Yeah, there's many things it's wrong with. I mean, the postal vote has got to change. We've got to get rid of that. I was surprised actually when I first came into politics. One thing I was surprised about, I always thought a councillor did it for the good of the good of his neighbourhood. I didn't even know they got paid, and I was surprised that they actually got paid. But you know, the other thing that surprised me with this type of thing is. So I've lost my grip now. I was thinking about.
Let's keep it in tune, because it's about your party. Yeah. So we're coming towards the end now. We've got probably 5 minutes left. Yeah. So why should the electorate vote for you? What's your unique selling point, Mike?
Well, we've got to, yeah, our USPs, what we believe is we're trying to get, as I've said earlier on, we're trying to bring in all the independents and bring all these people in together and give them training, show them how, because we have a lot of experience, many, many years of all the people that's in the party, a lot of experience on how to get elected. But one of the unique things about our party is what we are seeing is, are you actually proud of where you live? Are you proud of your street? Are you proud of your village, your ward, your town, your city, your region, your country? Are you proud of it? So we've developed our branches are not called branches, they're called proud of. So, proud of Bradford, proud of Leeds, proud of Hull, and that's what we stand under. And it's that proud of. So are you proud? Who's going to go to a ballot paper and say they're not proud of actually where they live? No, that's what it's about. It's proud. It's been having pride in where you live. If you haven't got pride in it, well, why not? Do you want to change it? Do you want to say it in where you live? Do you want to say in how your council spend your money? That is what we're saying. Get involved with us. Join the party. Get some training. It doesn't cost you anything for training. It doesn't cost you anything. And I'll say this loudly. We will not charge you to be a councillor. We will not charge you to be Westminster seat. You go there, you get in there, we'll give you some training. If you're proud of where you live and you want to be involved with how your area is run, then get involved with us and stand for council and in 4 years' time, whenever, stand for Westminster. Make the changes now.
Excellent. Well done, Mike. Right. So just to finish off, I've got some quick fire questions for you. It only needs one answer, right? You don't have to justify it. So, football or rugby?
From the city of Hull Kingston Rovers and Hull FC, it's got to be rugby league.
Rugby, right. Wine, white or red?
Oh, definitely red.
Definitely red. Good
nice
choice.
chilled white on a hot afternoon.
Just one word answer, Mike. Just one word answer. Thatcher or Churchill?
Churchill, every day.
Churchill, yep. Steak and chips or couscous?
Oh, steak and chips.
Mike, thank you very much. It's been very, very enjoyable. Thank you very much for those watching. What we will add at the end of the video is all of the links to Mike's website. We'll add in Mike's. I'm assuming you're on Twitter, Mike. If you can provide all the details for us, we'll add it.
Facebook, LinkedIn.
Yeah. Okay, so on how people can can get involved and if they want to join your party.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all on there on the website, so we'll put the link to that.
Yep, we'll add all the details at the end.
Yeah, well, it's a basic membership fee, no extra fees, no charging for anything else, no asking for huge amounts of money to stand for Westminster or council. We are honest party.
What a breath of fresh air that is, because we need some honesty, in our politics. Mike, thank you so much for your time. It's been very, very enjoyable, and all the best for the future.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you for asking me.
No problem. Goodbye all, and have a good evening.